What if Green Lantern was good? I mean, there's no way to sugarcoat this. The 2011 Ryan Reynolds Blake Lively DC superhero film is nothing short of a full-on disaster. It's forever gonna live in the minds of all comic book and movie fans as what not to do when making a superhero movie. I mean, it took me a month to finish this movie because I had to keep taking breaks in order to not completely die of boredom and frustration. It's kind of crazy that the movie is so sloppy and not fun considering it's directed by Martin Campbell, who made 2 Zorro movies and also Casino Royale, and say what you will, those movies are at least fun to watch. And also Blake Lively and Taika Waititi are in this movie and have no chemistry with Ryan Reynolds, who, by the way, Blake is married to. It's insane. Before jumping into the plot, let's deal with the problem with the visuals. This film suffers from truly terrible CGI and absolutely atrocious art choices. The decision to make the Green Lantern projections a weird mix of green smoke and real solid looking projections is completely baffling. Firstly, I don't understand why DC's live action films don't take a cue from the visual styles of the Bruce Timm animated shows. All those shows really had their shit together, and not only were they fun and good to look at, they're kind of the definitive look for a lot of the audience, whether they admit it or not. Instead of making the projections come out of smoke and look weirdly solid, let's just make them more 2D looking, like diagrams of the objects the lanterns are trying to approximate, and give them a really strong green glow, kinda like lightsabers. This way we don't have to deal with the awful limitations of CGI at the time, and it can be aesthetically pleasing. Also, when the lanterns fly, there's a horrible green cloud that emanates from the back of them. I mean, it looks like they're farting. Who even approved this? It's completely ridiculous. Instead, let's give them a strong light trail like the Powerpuff Girls or the Tron light cycles. That kind of retro futurism would work really well for this movie. The CG characters don't look so bad in this movie, so they can stay as they are. Alright, with the visuals somewhat sorted, let's get into the story. First of all, let's get rid of the tedious prologue with Abin Sur droning on about what the lanterns are and who Parallax is. Nobody cares right now. The movie hasn't even started, and all this is going to be explained to Hal Jordan anyway when he gets inducted into the Green Lantern Corps, so why repeat this information? Let's streamline this shit and start our movie off with a bang. Abin Sur and a bunch of other lanterns are headed to a mission on a Star Trek style ship. We get some cool looking aliens and some fun banter between the lanterns. This way we see that this is a family. Abin Sur is the leader and their good guy is going to help people. They see a mysterious yellowish cloud in their way and it attacks their ship. The massacre that ensues is straight out of a horror film. Abin Sur tries to use his ring to stop the monster, but it's just pandemonium. He watches all his compatriots die, rushes to an escape pod just as he gets wounded by Parallax. He uses the last of his powers to blow up the ship and uses the distraction to escape in the pod and begins hurtling towards Earth. We cut to Hal Jordan already flying his plane trying to outsmart the drones. We show Blake and Taika in the comms trying to direct him. Hal is being cool and composed and beats the drone super easy, and just as he's about to fly back to the base, he feels the pull of green energy and Abin Sur's voice. He lands and gets confronted by Blake and Taika, and they're talking to him about his reckless flying, but Hal is kinda in a daze. He sort of brushes them off and leaves the base. He follows the green glow to the crash site and finds the dying Abin Sur. He gets the ring and the lantern. Taika, who has been following him, catches up and they have a fun little freakout session, and they leave before the authorities arrive. In space, we see the floating wreckage of Abin Sur's ship. There's dead crew members floating around and new lanterns are arriving to inspect the scene. Here, we're introduced to Sinestro. He figures out that Parallax has escaped and heads back to Oa. In the original movie, Sinestro learns of Parallax in a long drawn-out conversation with Abin Sur before he dies, and it's just so boring. This way, we're doing more show than tell and letting our characters discover information rather than it being spoon-fed to them. It just leads to a more streamlined storytelling, which is more interesting to watch. Back at Hal's home, the two friends are trying to figure out how the lantern works and having fun banter about it when there's a knock at the door. It's Blake, and she's come to apologize for how they left things at the base. They pretend they're not home and she speaks to him through the door, kinda like that one scene in Spider-Verse. She's sort of pouring her heart out to him, revealing her insecurities and hoping that they can be close again like when they were kids. In the original movie, they have such an antagonistic relationship that you don't see any of the sparks fly between them, and then suddenly they're in love and it absolutely doesn't work. This way we're showing that it's more friends who have drifted apart rather than actual enemies. While she's leaving, Taika tries to get him to go after her, but that's when the lantern glows, pulls Hal into a trance. As he recites the oath and gets pulled in, the lantern flies off into space and heads to Oa. The stuff in Oa is not bad at all, so I'd leave it mostly as it is. Hal wakes up and has a fish out of water moment. The lanterns tell him all about the organization and he starts his training. We show Hal struggling with his training, unsure and insecure of himself and unable to work with others in a team. Sinestro shows up and antagonizes him for being human and then gives a big speech about Parallax. It's then revealed that Parallax is headed to Earth and Hal freaks out. He decides to leave Oa to save his planet. The other lanterns, they ignore his pleas for help and he leaves anyway. I don't want to put any of the reveal that Parallax used to be a lantern and Sinestro's want to use the power of fear. It's too soon for all this. I think this should be left for a later movie. You know, build up to that. There's a horrible party scene where a helicopter crashes and Green Lantern saves everyone, and my god, it's just a bad scene. Let's cut it. I'm also basically cutting Hector Hammond as a villain. Let's instead show Hal Jordan returning to Earth, trying to reconcile with Blake Lively's character, and they have a bit of a connection. Anyway, he tells her and Taika about Parallax, and they decide to help him hone his powers. Then we get some fun scenes of the Green Lantern being a superhero, saving people from a burning building or stopping a mugging. You know, hero stuff. They come closer as friends and Hal learns to trust others and work in a team. Character growth. Finally, Parallax arrives at Earth. There's a bunch of natural disasters because of it. Parallax entering the atmosphere causes earthquakes and avalanches and floods. He's trying to be everywhere at once. Blake Lively nearly gets crushed by a falling tree when a green beam suddenly stops it. She looks up to see another Green Lantern. Maybe they've got green helmets on so we don't have to deal with a huge fallout of the world discovering that aliens exist. The other lanterns have arrived to help Hal. They work together and save people. They push the tidal waves back and Hal heads off to fight Parallax. The fight with Parallax is fine, but it would be nice for him to have some friends with him. Because the Green Lantern is a core. It's not always one person working by themselves. Also, Hal Jordan is not like fully trained yet. He's not good enough to defeat Parallax, but them working together, you know, working as a team is kind of the theme of this movie. So let's have Sinestro and the alien that woke him up and the one who trained him all help fight Parallax. They all work together to push Parallax into the sun. Sinestro apologizes for underestimating humans. Hal goes back to Earth and kisses Blake and it all ends happily. The post-credits scene should show Amanda Waller leading Hector Hammond to the dead body of Abin Sur, and when he touches it, Hammond's eyes glow yellow and we hear Parallax's evil laugh and the movie ends. See what I mean? The movie has too many things going on. I've cut it all out and made it a simple, straightforward story with a single thread and a story about a guy who's unsure of himself and unable to work in a team, learning to trust himself and others in the process. This one really is just a fun exercise. At the end of the day, it's ultimately a good thing that this movie is what it is because it's such a well for other movies to make fun of. I mean, some of the highlights of Ryan Reynolds' other movies are jokes at this movie's expense. Never change, Green Lantern. Never change.